All right. The time has finally come.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Area 11. My name is Kyle Keka, and this is,
Matt Baitler, what's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight? You
we are
know,
Area 11. So, uh, just so you guys are aware of what this is a podcast where we echo the culture. We have been lifelong best friends since sixth grade. We love each other. We have spent a lot of time together. Um, and the things we talk about mainly sports, music, other topics like that. We just thought one day, you know what? Why not make a podcast and like collect all of our thoughts in this one podcast that we both worked very hard to start.
yes,
So,
sir.
Matt, did you want to add some more thoughts to that?
No, I mean you hit all points. I feel like it's time to let the world know, let the people know, kind of bring us in to what we talk about. Because hey, maybe you guys are interested in what we have to say. Um, and we're ready to get this thing rolling, and we're excited. So
All right, so we got a really good show for you guys tonight. So we're mainly going to talk about a couple main points. We're going to be talking about our thoughts on the NBA bubble and how it's handled COVID. We're going to talk about the conference finals that are going on right now. Um, and then we're also going to be talking about the career of Russell Westbrook. It's a player that we've constantly been talking about for the past several years. Really
yes,
great player,
yes.
but also comes with some caveats that we want to discuss. We're also going to do a Sweet 16 style March Madness bracket of old Kanye West songs. And that's going to be really awesome. We're really excited to unveil those. And then our last category is going to be we're going to be reviewing a new album by Big Sean, Detroit 2. And then Matt's also going to be talking about new music that's coming up. So we got a really good show for you guys tonight. So let's get it rolling.
Let's go.
All right. So, Matt, question for you, man. Um, what are your overall thoughts on the bubble so far? Do you think the NBA has succeeded in this? And what are your general thoughts about that?
I think when they first proposed the idea of creating this bubble, I thought it was ludicrous. I'm gonna be 100 with you. Um, the first thing that kind of made me question was where are they gonna keep all these players? And I think at first there were some speculations of different areas, but I know that in the beginning stages it wasn't a lockdown answer until maybe 2, 3 weeks in, and we found out that it's in Florida. Um, I don't know if it still is currently right now, but back then, Florida, Orlando to be specific, was a hot spot. And in my I'm thinking like this is how are they gonna bring these players into a hot spot and expect them to test and all that. Um, but fast forward to now, I mean, now obviously not every team is there. We're only down to 4 teams. But when they were all there, nobody had caught anything. So I mean, kudos to them, props to them that they're doing their thing. So I mean, I can't really hate on them for how far they come.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely did have my thoughts or my doubts that it was going to work just because with Florida being a very very big hotspot for coronavirus the last several months, I kind of had some doubts in the back of my head like, I do want basketball to come back, but at the same time it's going
Yeah,
to be logistically really hard, but for the NBA to not have any coronavirus cases that I'm aware of, I don't think
I don't
hasn't
think
been
so.
any COVID cases, right?
Right.
So they've succeeded in that. They have enacted a very strict bubble policy, except if you're Lou Williams with the lemon pepper wings,
You know,
which was just hilarious. But hey, props to him. He's a great player.
six
But
man like Lou Will.
they right, they just they just did a wonderful job, and I give a lot of credit to Adam Silver. He's been a great commissioner ever since David Stern stepped down.
Yeah.
He's making all the right moves, and really for the NBA, it's not only mixed their strict bubble policy with social justice issues too, which I think has been super important for the world to
Mm,
notice. The NBA has always been very progressive on stuff like that. So
yeah.
shout out to the NBA. They've been doing a great job, and honestly, if they get through these entire playoffs without any COVID cases, like we're
Yeah.
gonna look back on this and just think that the NBA, like this was one of the great sporting moments, I think, in recent human history. Like
Most
if I'm
definitely.
not mistaken, for sure.
Definitely. And one thing I
Um,
want to say about the whole, racial injustice and like what teams been doing. I know I told you about how JaVale McGee was doing vlogs, Matisse
mhm.
Thybulle. Those are two ones I was watching consistently. But and specifically, I know that Matisse Thybulle and the rest of the 76ers, he showed you through his vlogs that they were actually gathered together talking about ways of um impacting not only Philadelphia but the world as a whole. And I think Tobias was saying that obviously they all came to bubble to win a championship. They did a ball, but with the downtime that they had, they just didn't want to just be in the room watching TV. They wanted to do something that was gonna, be impactful, not only to the organization but to the league as a whole, and what mark they can leave on the world. So I thought that watching those vlogs and seeing, you know, how as players what their perspective is like of pregame and practices and just hanging around with other players. I thought that was dope because as fans, we only see on the court, or if we follow certain players on Instagram or Twitter, we see just tweets or pictures, but not really like in a video format of like these players like day to day life. So I thought the blogs were super creative and super dope.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off what you were saying about the social justice thing too, I think that there's always been this kind of debate about whether athletes should be, role models for the community. And I think that if there were any doubts about that, I think that the bubble has squashed those doubts. I think that
Yeah.
if you are like a high profile athlete like a LeBron James, who's my favorite
Mm.
athlete ever, um, if you have that yeah, oh yes sir, I got you that shirt. I
Yes,
got
sir.
yeah
Come
I got
on.
you
You know?
that shirt. If you're a high profile athlete like that, and if you are passionate about issues like that, you
Mm.
definitely have the right to use your platform and
Most
enact
definitely.
some sort of like social, big social awareness, and just be out there for the community, not just playing basketball, but being more than that, being just a very deeply passionate human being. I think is very important, especially if you have that all that media exposure on you. I think that's a super important thing to keep in mind for really anyone.
Most
So
definitely.
yeah, I think so. I think in summation, I think the bubble's been a success, and I think you share those thoughts too. And hoping that they can finish strong with no COVID cases, because that'd be huge.
Yes, sir.
All right, so moving on to the conference finals. So we are recording this
Woo!
on the 24th of September. Lakers, I believe, are playing soon, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
Um,
it started, 3 minutes ago, to be
Yeah.
exact.
Okay. So at the time of recording, the Lakers are up 2-1 in their series against Denver,
Yes, sir.
and Miami is up 3-1 against Boston.
Yes.
So who do you think we're going to see in the finals? And what are your general thoughts about each conference final so far, just in like really short spurts?
To start off with the Heat and Celtics, um, as you said, the Heat are up 3-1 right now. I think they play again the 25th. Um,
I think so.
and I mean, right now they're looking strong, man. I feel like Jimmy Butler's being consistent. If we're talking about Tyler Hero,
He's a
yesterday was it
baller.
yesterday? Play yesterday.
Yeah. Drop
The
37.
man, the man went off. And I think his confidence is definitely starting to boost.
Hmm.
Um, and the kid's only 20 years old. Like
Yeah, he
it's
can't even
only,
go to a bar yet. It's
I'm
it's
saying,
it's ridiculous.
but he's doing his
I,
thing. No,
Oh,
what's up?
hold on. Sorry. So actually, just to interject for a second, right before we were starting to record, I was on Snapchat, and
Yeah,
I was on Overtime Snapchat page, I think it was, and they were showing Tyler Harrow high school highlights of just him a couple years ago.
yeah,
And
that's crazy.
just thinking about how he dropped almost 40 last night, it was crazy. But sorry,
It's madness.
just go
No,
ahead.
no, that's nuts. And then I saw on Bleach Report that right now, as we speak, that his jersey is the top selling jersey in the world right now.
I saw that. That's
Yeah, which
insane.
is crazy.
He becomes a
Um,
star in front of our eyes.
you know what I'm saying? I'm here for. You know what I'm saying? Not to be, you know what I'm saying, super statistically, but uh at the 3 point line, I think this was against Boston. I don't know if it's as a whole or if it was just last night. He's 26%, 27% around up, which is it's decent. Now, obviously, he's not like my man Duncan Robinson. You know what I'm saying? But hey,
No, sir. Duncan is the GOAT, man. I
but I
love
feel like
I love Duncan.
fire, bro. And that'll probably be on another episode. But
Yeah.
right now, we're here for Tyler. But um, the kid going crazy. The team is going crazy. 3-1 is a good place to be for the Heat right now. I feel like as long as they keep their heads on their shoulders, don't get too carried away, to get one game at a time, I think they'll be golden. I have them coming out of the East.
Mm-hmm.
The West, 2-1, right? LA leads. I feel like Bron and AD are consistent. Um, the one thing I have to say about AD though is that after watching the highlights of their last game, the man is a dominant scorer, rebounder, all that. But the one thing I noticed is that when it comes to Anthony Davis defense in the paint, it's iffy. And I kind of question is that the reason why? Because I believe in the fourth, the Nuggets took off. Like the gap was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's a mixture between just twos or threes, right? But again, if you're talking about starting five, AD is your biggest man on the court. So when it comes to in the paint defense, the man that nothing should be, there should be a no-fly zone. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but me liking LeBron, me liking the Lakers, I still feel like LA's gonna clutch it out and they're gonna come out. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So my thoughts. So Boston, Miami. So going into the series, I had Miami winning in 6.
Okay.
I was never really a huge fan of Boston. I know that Boston was a trendy pick to make the finals in the bubble
Yeah.
because they're young, they're athletic, they're hungry, which all makes sense. But the thing about Boston for me is that Boston has a couple dogs, right? They got Jason Tatum, they got Jaylen Brown, they got Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart's really coming into his own. But when I'm looking at those 3-4 guys, typically on a championship caliber team, you have that one guy that can really carry you home.
Yeah.
And it just seems like to me that Boston, although they have a couple really solid players, I just don't think they have that guy yet. I think Tatum will eventually be that guy. I think Jason Tatum was certainly showing flashes this year, especially like right before the COVID shutdown. He was developing into a fringe superstar.
Yeah.
And that's not a word that I take lightly either, because there are only a few true superstars in the league. He was ascending to that level.
True.
But, the problem is, with young players is that they are inconsistent sometimes. And I think that for Jason Tatum's case, I think he needs just more experience under his belt. I mean, he had 0 points in the first half last night. He needs to be more aggressive and more assertive, and I think he knows that. So I think until someone on the Celtics, including, and by that I really mean Jason Tatum, once he gets to that level, Boston is going to be a true contender. But I had Miami in 6 just because they play so confidently. They're such a smart defensive team when they play their zone coverages too. Yeah. And obviously guys like Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson are playing with the utmost confidence right now. And Jimmy Butler's perfect with them. And I'm a huge fan of Bam Adebayo now. I think all of America is. He's really evolving, in front of our very eyes as a modern big man that he can't shoot the three, but he can facilitate. He's like a point center basically. So I did have Miami winning the series, and it looks like they're going to either in 5 or 6. I don't think it's going to go 7. I don't think Boston has it.
Yeah, nah.
But we'll see where it takes them. And then for Lakers Nuggets, you and me both are huge Lakers fans right now because we both love LeBron James. You think he's the greatest player of all time. I think he's second, but he could. And here's just so I can make this public. In my opinion, if LeBron James wins the finals this year, he is tied with Michael Jordan. I'm just putting that on record right now because even though he'll have 2 less championships, I think the all-around skill set and the totality of his career. But that's for a different episode. Anyway, I'm just giving y'all a little bit of taste of what's coming for an episode in the future. But oh my god, I had Lakers in 6.
That's fair.
I wanted to give Denver respect just because they've been playing so great and they shocked the world by upsetting the Clippers, who we all thought were at least going to make the conference finals. And if
That
you
was
were
my
like,
pick.
yeah, well, not mine either. But if you were a mainstream analyst for a mainstream TV show, you were probably picking the Clippers, except if you're like Shannon Sharp. But shout out to Shannon Sharp because he's awesome. He's I think he's probably the biggest LeBron fan ever. But I wanted to respect Denver though. They've been playing out of this world. The 2-man game of Murray and Jokic has been incredible to watch.
Yeah.
They're both turning into fringe superstars, I think, right now. And
Mm-hmm.
their role players too are playing exceptionally well. Jeremy Grant had 26 in last night's game. There are other players like Michael Porter Jr. is going to be a lethal scorer. They just got guys around a very motivational head coach in Mike Malone. They're going to be dangerous, and I think they still have a chance to beat the Lakers. I don't think they will though, because I think that the combination of LeBron and Anthony Davis is so elite, and they can turn it on at any point that I think they're just going to be too much for Denver. Because at the end of the day, Denver does not have a solid rim protector. For as good of a player as Nikola Jokic is, he's not a defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
And it all depends on whether Anthony Davis and LeBron James can decide to turn on the Jets and when not to turn on the Jets, because they have to pace themselves. But they have to really know how to push the envelope when it's necessary. And I think that's what LeBron's trying to teach Anthony Davis, I think, off camera. Now, I think he's trying to teach him how to be like that smart of a superstar, because LeBron is the smartest superstar that I've ever seen in any sport ever. I mean, he's just cerebral. Him and Tom Brady are on just a different level.
Right.
But I have Lakers in 6 just because of the combination of LeBron and AD, and their supporting cast I think is just good enough. Shout out Al Caruso, AC fresh baby. But yeah, so for me, it's Lakers in 6, and then Lakers Heat. But we can talk about that finals matchup if it happens on a different episode. But all right, so we got the NBA out of the way, or at least the matchups out of the way. Let's roll into Russell Westbrook. So let's talk about Russell Westbrook for a few minutes. He has had an incredible career. He's certainly going to be a Hall of Fame player. He was the first man since Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double in a season, and then he did it for 2 more seasons after that. He is dynamite. He plays 120%. He was one of Kobe Bryant's favorite modern players when he was living. And he's had just a phenomenally great career. But with all that being said, I do think that Russell Westbrook as a player, if I'm starting an NBA team, I'm not so sure if I want Russell Westbrook, because there is a point where you have to slow down. You have to let the game come to you, and you can't force anything. And I feel like Russell Westbrook does that, and he's been continuing to do that. I'll give you one example. So in Houston this year, his first season in a Rockets uniform, he shot the most at the rim as a percentage of his total field goal attempts. He shot more times at the rim than he did since his rookie season. He was playing out of this world. And then once the playoffs hit, he started shooting threes again. And as we all know, he's not a very good three-point shooter.
Correct.
So he has limitations, but he hasn't been able to rein in those limitations. And I think that's what's derailed his career. Or not derailed his career, but it's limited his career.
Yeah. And I agree. We had numerous conversations about Russell, and how you were saying about you were starting up a team from scratch. No disrespect, I think he's a talented guy.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't, he wouldn't be in the NBA.
No.
The thing that I just don't like is that I feel like at times he forces the game.
Mhm.
And okay, I get it. OKC, when Harden left, KD left, he felt like it was his team. Okay, cool. But at times when I was watching OKC games, fourth quarter they're down by let's say 5 to 10 points. Unnecessary shots, unnecessary passes when he does pass. And it just the game just seemed choppy, right? I That's why I can't trust a comeback from Russell.
Mhm.
Um, and I said this numerous times as well. I feel that um Derrick Rose his ACL injury driving to the lane. Russell Westbrook is one dominant player, but he doesn't have the body of a small forward, a power forward, or a center. So when he's constantly driving to the lane, my thing is you don't have any coaches or staff saying like, I love the intensity, but you got to chill out on the driving because again, he's not the biggest guy on the court. So when you keep on doing that, applying pressure to other players in your own body, you're gonna eventually take a beating. You know what I'm saying? And again, I think he's dominant in other areas and he can show it. I just don't think driving to the lane and going for a dunk or a layup is always the answer.
True.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that that's the enigma about Russell Westbrook. He's the only superstar that I can think of where he's easily one of the 10 greatest players that I've ever seen. And I think we can probably all say that.
yeah,
But you really have to question whether you would, really want to build a team around him because he plays so hard that's what's the irony about him is that that's kind of his drawback where he knows
yeah,
how to play so hard, he doesn't know how to rein it back. So
exactly.
we just want to talk about that just because we've been talking about Russell Westbrook for years now, kind of in that same manner. Wanted to make that public and let us know what you guys think. So now that we're out of the way with sports, now it's time for the fun part. No.
Super.
Um, Now we're gonna go into our Kanye West bracket. So what we did was, and Matt, if you wanted to share the screen
Yes,
for your
sir.
bracket first, um, we decided to do a Sweet 16 style bracket of 16 pre 2011, such or also known as old Kanye songs. I think I know what Matt's answer was. I think we talked about this, but Matt, if you wanted to go into your answers
Okay.
just for about a minute or two.
Yeah, for sure. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so me and Kyle had a start of 16 songs, and as you can see, the 16 songs are on the outside. Um, I'm not gonna read these off. You guys can read, you guys can see. But to get to the meat and potatoes, I guess we can go into the final four, right? Me personally, I had Gold Digger, Amazing, Good Life, and Homecoming, right? Uh Gold Digger and Amazing, two terrific Kanye West songs. But Gold Digger just had a special place in my heart. And I know you're, oh man, that sounds sick. Listen, I remember playing Utego football. I don't know if we were home or if we were away, but I remember during warm-ups, um, the team or the whatever who's trying the music, they was playing Gold Digger. Why? I don't know. But it just had a sentimental place in my heart. So I had to have Gold Digger for coming out of that region. Homecoming and Good Life, same thing. I remember when Homecoming came out, my dad would always play in the car. I was a fan of it. It had I forget his name from Coldplay. Talented
Oh,
artist.
Chris Martin.
Thank you, Chris Martin. Talented artist. And so I had Gold Digger and Homecoming in the championship. But however, I felt like because this is a Kanye bracket, I have to give it to Gold Digger because Gold Digger was majority Kanye West. But man, they had featuring Jamie Foxx. Look, Jamie Foxx was
Not
background
important.
vocals. It was never he never had lyrics like Chris Martin, right?
True. Yeah.
So overall, Gold Digger, Kanye West, salute. This is my favorite song.
All right. So
Now,
Graduations is pretty well represented in the Final Four for you.
say that again.
Said that that Graduations pretty well represented in the Final Four for you.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
All right. Can you enable my screen sharing?
Yes, sir. There you go.
All right. Thank you. All right. Now we're gonna go into my bracket. So my bracket's a lot different. Well, kind of. So as you can see, all the songs that were on the right side were songs that we disagreed on for advancing into the Elite Eight, so to speak. But the Final Four also had Gold Digger, and it's also in my championship game, except it does not win. I have Gold Digger
Mm.
from Late Registration, All Falls Down from College Dropout. I have Runaway featuring the great Pusha T from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and Flashing Lights from Graduation. And in my championship game, I have Gold Digger taking on Flashing Lights. And this was really tough for me. I was actually thinking about this before I went to bed last night, dreaming about it in a cold sweat. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But it was still a very tough decision. And Flashing Lights won out for me just because and this is going to sound super weird, so just bear with me, but if you're just listening to it with those like big ass headphones on, and like you can just feel the bass and just feel the conviction in his words, it just yeah, just like that. It's so good. And that's been one of my favorite Kanye songs for a while, and I just really found out that it's really kind of discovered that it is my favorite Kanye song. So shout out Kanye. Except well, I'll just shout out old Kanye. Let's just keep it at that.
I will say I can't be too mad at what you had in the championship between Gold Digger and Flashing Lights. I feel like
Yeah.
if you had something like far from Gold Digger and Flashing, I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I
Yo,
I
but it's
I'm
cool.
glad
It's
that
cool.
I'm glad that you were accommodating for my picks, because we typically disagree on music kind of a lot
Oh
sometimes.
yeah. Most definitely, most definitely.
All right. So before we get into our last big segment, Matt, did you want to do a pit stop and say what new music is going to come out?
Yeah. So we're gonna try to hit this every week. Just sort of, kind of combining entertainment and music. But one thing I found about today is that both me and Kyle are huge fans of Travis Scott, right?
The GOAT.
And on his Twitter, he kind of shouted out and let his fans know that he directed a film called Franchise. Um, out of his franchise or franchise Utopia, but I don't know if you guys keep up with Travis Scott like that, but Utopia could be the title of his next project. So I don't know if this film has to do something with the new project, or if it's something to do off of Tenet. But I know that he also had Christopher Nolan, which, if you know, Christopher Nolan is one of the OG directors. Like, the man's a GOAT. But he helped out with this movie. So yeah, so that's that. New music. It's Thursday. We all know that new music
Sir.
drops Thursday night, going into Friday. Um, Starting off with, we have Travis, right? Franchise featuring Young Thug and MIA. Um, I've heard some snippets of this. Uh, Kyle, do you think this is gonna be a hit or a miss?
Well, yeah, I think you already know what my opinion on it's going to be. I think it's going to be a hit, bro. Anything he
Hopefully,
touches
yeah.
turns to gold, but that's just me. I'm really excited for it. I'm probably not going to be staying up to listen to it because I've become such a and I've become so sleepy late at night. But I'm going to try to listen to it first thing tomorrow morning.
I feel you. I feel you. Um, this one I'm not. I'm kind of confused about. Bryson Tiller, Trap Soul, but it's a deluxe or DLX. Now, to my understanding, I could be tweaking, but didn't we get a deluxe version of Trap Soul already, or no?
I don't think so. But when the original Trap Soul came out though,
Oh,
that was so
classic,
good. It's got
classic.
at least a couple. It's got probably 3 or 4 classic songs on it that I still listen to today.
Hey, shout out to the 502. Shout out to
Shout
Louisville,
out,
man.
absolutely.
Um, this is Kyle's boy,
Wait, who is it?
Polo G.
Oh yes, the greatest man from
Man,
Chicago right now, and that includes Lil Durk. That's just me though.
Polo G got a single drop a night called Epidemic. Um,
No pandemic.
I feel like it's gonna be some deep bars in there because Polo G is, you know what I'm saying. He'll say some deep stuff that make
He
you,
can,
it'll
he's so
hit you. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
He's so good.
Oh, this is also a boy of me and Kyle, Arizona Service.
I did hear about this one. I did see on his social media that this one was dropping.
R.I.P. Rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? I feel like now I will say this. The last two singles that he dropped, because just a little side note, back in 2016 or 17, when I discovered him,
Yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. Probably 17.
I put Kyle on and the dude is a monster, right? I think he's still on the ground. People know him. You may know him from Roxanne. Me personally, I wasn't a fan of Roxanne,
Oh, I loved it.
but the world was, and that's just what it is. But rest in peace. Drop it to I feel like it's gonna be good. Albums. ASAP Ferg called Floor Seats 2. I never heard the first one. But ASAP Ferg, you know what I'm saying? He got some
He's pretty good.
classics.
He's pretty
You know what
good.
I'm saying? I said MJK. MGK. Floor
Ohio.
tickets to my downfall. You know what I'm saying? I feel like from his past recent stuff, he's been real rock oriented.
Yeah.
But I mean, from the point where MGK when he first came out, he always had the look of a rock star, but just rap. Am I right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So I feel like he's always liked it, but just nowadays starting to implement more in the music. Spillage Village. I don't know if I'm butchering this name. Spillagin, which, if you know who that is,
I think I know.
JID, Black,
Yep.
Earth Gang, the whole, you know what I'm saying? I think I heard some singles already dropped already. Those have been fire. That's one of my person I'm gonna listen to personally. And 2 Chainz. We haven't heard 2 Chainz in a minute.
It's true.
So help me God.
Atlanta.
That album dropping tonight. You know what I'm saying? 2 Chainz. Oh look, you better have some dope features. It's been a minute. 2 Chainz.
I feel like 2 Chainz does need features though sometimes,
Yeah.
especially just late in his career. But but shout out 2 Chainz though. He drops some classics for sure.
2 Chainz.
Pretty Girls Like Trap Music. Yes, sir.
That was a good album.
It was. All right. Speed round. We don't have much time left, but I'll go first. I'll kick it off with the Big Sean Detroit 2 album review. It came out in early September. Let's talk about this each for about 2 minutes, just to speed round, quick hitters, impressions.
For sure.
Because we both love Big Sean, but you especially because you're from Michigan.
Detroit.
And he represents Detroit.
Yes, sir.
And the entire city. So overall, I really liked it. It was not my favorite Big Sean album, though. My favorite Big Sean album to this day is still Dark Sky Paradise, which is dropped back in, I believe, 2015. That song had a few more classics on it for me, but I feel like this album, though, for him was so versatile because he was introspective, he was emotional, and he also dropped a lot of, like, really kind of like club beats. So
yeah.
I feel like he was really emotional on songs such as "Feed," "Deep Reference," but "Deep Reference," I'm struggling to count it as that because it was a single, but because it's on the album, I'll count it as that. He had a couple insane beat switches on "Unlucky Me." He sampled "Human Nature" on one of his songs by Michael Jackson. I don't remember what song it was. Yeah, "Down Life." That was such a good song because that was
featuring Lil Wayne.
Right? Yeah, Lil
Yes,
Wayne.
sir.
The one with Travis Scott, Lithuania was good too. That was a banger. Wolves was one of my favorite ones because it had Post Malone on it. Shout out Post Malone. And he was just really impressive in the sense that he did drop kind of those types of songs. But he also talked about social justice on Guard Your Heart with Anderson .Paak. So it's stuff like that that has made Big Sean such a good artist, because he is not afraid to go deep into different paths. If you know what I'm saying. So he's just so versatile. Shout out Big Sean, and it was a really good album. So I encourage you guys to listen to it if you haven't yet. But
that was excellent. That was excellent. My thoughts on D2, Detroit 2. Look, I feel at my first initial listen, I was gonna try to compare the Detroit 2 to Dark Sky Paradise.
mm-hmm.
And after the second listen through, I was like, I really can't, because I feel like these are two different types of albums. And I know I mentioned to you, I felt like that this was like a statement album from Big Sean. Like, cause my thing is, he hasn't left the rap scene, but I feel like he hasn't dropped an album since 2017, Double or Nothing, the Metro Boomin class. But I felt like you can hear the intensity in his voice. You can also hear like the depression in his voice in some of these tracks. And I felt that he was getting a lot off of his chest in some of these tracks. Why Would I Stop is a great introduction for this album. And I remember, I think, hearing something he I know in the song, he was like, "Why would I stop? I am unstoppable." But I remember he said he believes in manifestation, so he was like always telling himself that he's unstoppable. He's unstoppable. So I think to open up the album was terrific. Lucky Me, probably one of my favorites off the album. That beat switch, I think, coming to the end
around like the 2-minute mark, it was
sir.
I remember we were talking off camera about that, and we were just both in awe of it.
It was nuts. Deep Reverence, like how I said, it came out before the album dropped, but I think it really was deep. And I felt like if you're not a Big Sean fan or you haven't heard majority of his music, the reaction that I saw off of it from Twitter was like, people didn't know that he could spit like that. But Big Sean was in his bag. That's what I'm saying. He's been doing this. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace. The marathon continues. Wolves, Post Malone, fire. I thought that this song, if it wasn't a Big Sean song, it could have been a Post Malone song. I think that's what I like about this album, that each feature was perfect with the beat, and everybody was able to flow, get to their verse or get to their part, and then get out and then get back, whatever. Everything flowed. The story times was dope. If you've been a fan since the first Detroit, which was a mixtape, this kind of a follow-up, because in the first Detroit, he had story times. I think one was with Jeezy, Snoop Dogg, and somebody I can't remember. But basically, he was paying homage to the last Detroit. Crazy thing is, I'm not gonna go through everyone because it's 21 songs deep. But just know that I was a fan of this album. I was waiting a long time for this album. And to this day, I'm still bumping it. Oh, Friday Night Cypher.
All
10 minutes long, all Detroit on it. I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, this has to be the first time that an artist has did a song with the whole, now obviously it's not every rapper in Detroit's on the song, but the whole concept, I never seen this before ever. So to see this from one of my favorite artists, and to see a representation of the city on this track, I thought it was fantastic. So
it was just so beautifully put, and I agree with that. He just went crazy, and the album was really long awaited too, because the last time he had dropped an album was 2017, right? He just went insane, and shout out Big Sean. He's Detroit legend, and he will go down in history as a Detroit legend.
Yes, sir.
I encourage you guys listening to Detroit too. It is Big Sean's. It is one of his best works to date. And with that, that concludes our podcast, our first episode of Area 11.
Whew.
Glad you guys could join us, and we will be back for more. Matt, you got any closing remarks?
No, man. Thank you guys for watching. This has been uh highly anticipated. We've been wanting to do this forever, and you know what I'm saying, the time has come. So we're gonna keep on making these podcasts, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content. So
We echo the culture. Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir. See you.
All right. All right. Talk to you guys.